Go.
Oops. Hi everyone, it's Sir Rithkin and happy Sunday. I'm here with Murder of Dukes and my sister's co-hosting tonight. Hello, Ishaxi. And tonight we're very happy to have Duke Guy of Castle Kirk from CAID. Thank you, Your Grace, for joining us.
Well, hey, good evening. It's really wonderful to be here, and thank you for asking me to be a part of your murder.
Part of my murder. I really appreciate you agreeing to do it. You are a super interesting person, and I have a lot of mutual friends in common with you who wear your helmets, and they speak very highly of you. They sort of talk about you like you're a superhero. So it'll be very cool to get to know you a little bit better tonight. So we usually start these with your origin story. So if you want to tell us how, where, when, why you found the STA, that would be great.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's one of my favorite beginnings. Was a modern mythology class in high school. It was pretty much the seniors took that every year. It was a study of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And there was time to read a extra credit book at the end of the class. And the teacher told us about an authoress named Catherine Kirk that did the Dearney series, and that she was in a medieval society. Well, for once, I perked up in class and was very interested. I asked the teacher about it after class, and she sent me to the library, and I researched societies there, found the Society for Creative Anachronism, and made contact. The page then was just a mimeographed, could read about half of it. It was so blurry. I received the page, got a phone number. And I built armor before then in high school shop class and at my father's shop. And I was able to show up at a tournament in my body armor. I borrowed a helmet, a 3-on-can helmet, and a sword, but I'd made a shield. They let me fight with a pair of wrestling knee pads for leg armor. And I remember going there. I was a pretty good athlete in high school. I was still in high school. And the strategies I was thinking of, and I'm really going to sword fight. And boy, it was, I had it taken to me. It was quite a wake up. And the fighting was still so simple then. And I remember it was a cornetting tourney for Thomas the Merciless, who was knighted that evening, and Duke Paul was there. Andrew of Riga was the king of the West, and he came, and a lot of notables came down for this tournament. I remember watching, I said, who is that? That's Duke Paul. There were a line of 15, 20 fighters, and he was just one shot them, a couple fakes, and I went over and talked to him. He gave me a lesson that day, a little 10-minute lesson. And next tournament, I had some decent armor going on and still a novice fighter. And then within a year, I was winning tournaments.
Wow.
And like I said, I was a pretty active athlete. So.
What year was that you started?
It was AS9. It was 1975, and I was able to go to the 10-year anniversary that next year at Big Tree, the King of the West. That was such a great.
I don't think anybody's told any 10-year stories. Do you have any good 10-year stories?
Any what stories?
Any good years, good stories about 10th year?
Yeah, I remember Big Trees is a big rectangular lined with trees and period pavilions all around. And there was a chess game with probably 10-foot squares marked in a meadow. No larger than that, 15-foot square. And then 2 chess masters at the side playing chess. And you would have to vie for the with squares. The pawns were unbelts with a little buckler and about an 18-inch short sword. And then Duke Paul was a queen, of course. And I was pretty good by then, so they chose me to be a bishop, and I had a mace. The bishops had maces. It was interesting. You look down at your diagonals, at your potential opponents. They would make a move, and you'd have to fight for that square. So it put a twist in the chess game. You could also lose your piece. But it was a lot of, my first real episode of pageantry in the SCA. That.
So you said that you were making armor before you found the SCA. What inspired you to do that?
Oh gosh, ever since I've been a little boy, I wanted to build a castle and make armor. And my father's a metal worker, so I had metalworking experience there, and then 8 semesters in metal shop in high school. Actually, I ditched class and go to metal shop with a wink and a nod from the instructor.
Nice.
Yeah, it was different times then.
So did you end up squiring to anyone?
Oh no, there weren't any squares then.
Okay.
Squares came around quite a bit later. No man at arms, but I was out of the SCA for a couple of years while I played junior college football. I'd show up at events every couple of months, I guess, here and there. And then I started Castle Kirk soon after, in my young 20s. And I left the SCA for a solid 2 years. Darla and I were both just so enthralled in the castle and getting it, the first phase finished so we could live in it. And that was a 2-year project. I built everything myself on it. And then when I was ready to make bust out and join the SCA again, we received a phone call from a local chapter that was starting up, the Shire, the junior college here in Visalia, called Silver Oak. And I was about 24 then, 25, and they were all between 18 and 20. And we all struck it off into a brotherhood that's still strong today. They've all retired from sword fighting.
Very cool.
I'm still sword fighting.
Yeah, I know. I got to fight you at Ontario West War the last time we had a war, I think. And that was super fun. Yeah.
We fought there. I had a couple of really good series. I had a good series with Hansa that I surprised myself on, and Count Franbald from Ingolstadt. And I had a good day that day.
Yeah.
I remember fighting you and quite a few other people too.
Yeah, the pickup field was very cool that day. I got to fight all of those guys too, and Duke Connor, and I mean, there was some brutes on that. Duke Miles was on the field. Yeah, it was a good day. Super good day. Miles?
Oh yeah, I remember who he is.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit. How long did it take you to get knighted?
Oh gosh, yeah, that I was close to being knighted, like, first couple of years of fighting, and then there was I had a little setback, but then with playing college football and then building the castle, and I made that comeback with Silver Oak, and we had tourney fever. I met them in spring of 1982, I believe, and we were heading to CAID for tournaments every other weekend, and a lot of my old friends were there, and we had some good reconciling. And I don't think I ever won a tournament that summer, but I was real close to it. And then that crown tournament in the fall was a big surprise that morning. I was called up by the chivalry, no vigil. Just they all thought I was going to win that day. I was knighted at opening court, and I did not have a good showing that day. I think I was, broke about even 3-2 or so.
I think when they surprise you in opening court with getting knighted, it kind of messes with your headspace.
Yeah, it was a big surprise for me. It really was. So knighted with Mahi's sword. He was the third knight of CAID, and it was just a good day, good celebratory day. And then the fun really started. Being a knight and having to change my ways.
So what do you mean by that?
Oh, just a lot more responsibility. You have to be an example for younger fighters, more mature. I was still very flamboyant in my youth with my reveling, and really had some great times, and a lot of really great times that I really can't remember anymore too.
That's what the 20s is all about.
That's the thing. The SCA, the wars, the revelry we have at the wars, and the camaraderie at the tournaments. So it's the best.
So in addition to getting that lesson from Duke Paul, like way back when, did you have other fighting mentors?
Sir Hugh, the Undecided, he was one of the first knights of CAID. There's Sir Hugh and Sir Christian of Orange were the only two knights of the West. CAID was a principality then. And he had the Brotherhood of the Blade formed, and that was a fighting group of young fighters. And he'd open up his workshop to build armor and weaponry, and just a good role model for me going into the SCA. I was quite, like I said, like a teenager then when we were first starting out. Also Martin the Temperate, Duke Martin, and also boy, he and I had some great finals and tournaments. And also Armand, Duke Armand de Sevigny.
Very cool.
I think of him as one of the founding fathers of CAID. George Washington.
Is there one of them that you patterned or modeled your fighting style after?
Oh no, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah. Duke Sean was explaining one of his timing blows to me, and he says, okay, now you have this little influence step here to the right, and explaining me a little hip move, and then I said, bro, when it's going on, I don't even know what's going from here down. It's just happening. My legs are just churning. I think of myself now as a counter fighter. I used to be more of a philosophy of, well, I still have this philosophy that your best defense is an irresistible offense. If you can concentrate on pinning down your opponent's weapon at its source and being very aggressive with shield hooks, you can take their mind. Anything you can do to take their mind off of, here we are talking about fighting philosophy. I always thought anything you can do to take your opponent's mind off of his offense. Put a hint of hesitation in. Just I'll approach an opponent, just punch my sword out here, and they say, just gives them a glimpse of what's he doing, and that's a window you can launch your attack from. any hesitation is the robber of speed. If you're not keyed up, if you're not in the moment of the fight, you start wondering what your opponent's up to, then you're leaving yourself in the window. And I've had that happen to me many, many times.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. Kit says that what you do is you crush everyone. I was going to say, I think you have a power style, but I also like to shield hook a lot. So
I'm trying to chop your head off. That's what we're trying to do here.
exactly.
Also with my work, with the work I do here, that keeps my body toned up with the strength.
Yeah.
I just moved 1,000 pounds of urbanite this afternoon. Feel great.
I can't remember who I was talking to, but they told me they were over at your house for one of your practices and barbecues. And they said that they needed a break because it was hot. And you're like, okay, yeah, let's take a break. We'll go into the shade. And while everybody else was drinking water and taking a break, you were over chopping wood. And you chopped wood during the whole break. And then you came back over and said, okay, let's go back again. True story?
I'm amazed at some of the myths I've heard about myself. But that one's true.
That's true. Okay.
We had to get the barbecue ready. Global warming. Have you seen the barbecue here?
I think I've seen pictures.
Yeah, it's inspired by Jules Verne.
Wow.
A friend of mine said, that looks like something out of a Jules Verne novel. So I call it Jules Verne's Global Warmer. And we've had that thing. We've had some really great chefs on it too. Master Jamal from CAID has cooked on it a few times. And
that guy can cook.
Oh, that's been a real treat.
Yeah, I've ate some of his food at one of Sean's things, I think. Very good cook. So let's talk about winning crown. Was that a goal of yours?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. After I was knighted, people would tell me I wouldn't go to crown tournaments. I was more into working on the castle. And they'd say, hey, you could have won that tournament if you'd gone. I go, that's good to know. And then I was still entering tournaments during the season and going to the wars. Then I, in my later 20s, just felt the need, thought it was time, and talked to Darla about it. And we decided to take it seriously and train up for it. And I was on fire. I was in very good shape. About 3 weeks before the tournament, crown tournament, I was having a practice, and I'd fight 3 or 4 at a time, and then just to keep me up, keep the maximum pressure I could on me for training. Then I had a great finish, headed down to the locker room, and one of my brothers in the Brotherhood of Silver Oak said, "Get back up here, old man. I got one more for you." And I just wheeled around, just had an irresistible onslaught and came down wrong and popped my knee.
Oh.
Yeah, went down flat on my back. And I remember Clay, our oldest boy, was about 6 or 7. And I remember hearing him say, "I better go get my mom." Here comes Darla with an ice bag. And then Clay comes walking up, dragging some crutches.
Oh.
So I was done. 3 weeks later was crown. I had to have surgery on it, but it was wobbly. I could have fought in it, but I didn't. So I had the surgery repair, ACL, and then trained up for the next crown. And that was in Starkhaven. And this was before the internet. And we couldn't fight in that tournament because of an eligibility problem with the criteria to be eligible for crown.
Okay.
So I couldn't fight that day, and I was really ready.
Yeah.
And so my friend Sir Yaroslav, his Lady Catriona, Nick Lorraine, was not eligible either. And so Yaroslav fought for Darla.
Oh,
That's
that's
And
nice.
all four of us presented ourselves in front of the crowd. But he had a good show, but I'm really glad he didn't win. The next crown rolled around, and I was on fire. I'd made a Pell in the back acre. It was a cable slide for my kids, the front end of a bicycle, just a steel rim on the cable, and they'd hang onto the handlebars and slide down to the bottom to the swale. And then I had a pulley with a chain leader and about a 7-8 inch telephone pole with head to knee. And I would tie the bicycle slide piece off to the side, and I would work out on this Pell that would slide down the hill, and I would chase it, and I would run next to it. Throwing blows, and then even back pedal and step aside and throw that nice deep wrap to the leg as it came by. So it was a real authentic moving Pell. And then when it got down to the bottom to that swale, it would be moving 5-6 feet from side to side, and you'd have to wear your helmet.
Great.
I learned that one, but it was a hard crash into your shield. You could toss it around, and it was a real authentic, easy on the elbow. It was fluid, and then I'd shield press it up the hill as a
Wow.
That was a great training device. Because around here, there really wasn't anybody to give me a good push. Those higher caliber fighters, and I'd have to travel to the Central CAID or the West.
Wow, that is hardcore.
That crown tournament came around, and I killed everyone with a headshot all the way through the final. And actually had a knight complain I was being too aggressive in the quarterfinal.
It's fighting. How do you be too aggressive?
I know. That's one to do.
Yeah.
We were both on our knees, and actually I took his leg and then offered mine. And then that's where that my favorite fighting is knee to knee, where you're just face to face throwing blows, nowhere to run. And he said, hold, you're being too aggressive. And the marshal didn't like that either. So Leon was called, and we finished it. But that was such a glorious, long sought after win, to be denied entrance into 2 crowns when I felt it was time to win them. And that 3rd crown tournament, I was swept off my feet by my brotherhood and carried around the field on my back.
Very cool.
It's a great revel that night too. It's wonderful.
Very cool. So because you have this castle and sort of this medieval aesthetic, did you bring that into your reign?
Well, we'd have events here, revels at the barony and such. Really didn't have court here ever, anything like that. We had 3 young children that we did both reigns with. And we'd pick them up every Saturday morning at about 5 o'clock and load them up into the truck like a piece of firewood, and we'd be on down the road. And it was a good bonding experience for the kids, the family. They had a lot of fun growing up.
That's impressive to be raising 3 kids, fighting at a level where you can win crown and building a castle all at the same time. That's a lot.
Well, I was getting warmed up. We had a lot of help with the nanny, watching our boys, taking care of them, and that helped out a lot.
Do your boys play now?
Well, they all did, and then they got girlfriends. And wives, but my middle son, Lancelot, and I started up armor shop again on a weeknight, and he armed up after about 5 years. We had a practice here a few months ago when COVID was just starting, and he did really well for not swinging a stick in 5 years, but he's always been a great athlete also. And he was very impressive. I was very impressed with him. So he said, Dad, I'm back. I want to do it again. We used to go to wars together. Went to a lot of Miss Sinagua wars. We went to 3 or 4 of those together. And that was just maybe some West CAID wars back then. But he was in his teens then and did really well then too. We were at a Miss Sinagua war, and he was inside a castle gate, and he killed 3 knights and no, he killed 4 knights. One of them was a belted prince. No, there was like 6 or 7 knights he killed. No, it was
Maybe it was 20.
he was inside the gate and had his right side protected, and they were just coming at him. He had a real good, quick one snap. But anyways, Sir Thorfinn was standing next to me, and he says, nice work, Your Grace. And I said, I'm right here. That's my son. We had similar armor on. That was a very prideful moment for me.
That's very cool. Very cool. So what was your favorite part about your first reign?
Oh gosh, have to be the glorious army of CAID and our showing at Estrella War. It was a good time for CAID. I happened to win the crown right when the army was being formed by Duke Armand and Count Balin and Sir Mishwa from Calafia. And we arranged the army into brigades, geographically located, 5 brigades. So we'd have brigade practices, and we would also have Kingdom War practices to get ready for it. And both those men, Balin and Armand, are both geniuses in war strategies. They spent a lot of time studying it over their lives. So we would get over 300 fighters at a war practice. And I was the inspiration man, the coach, to bring the brigades together. And we had just a great bond of unity in our army. And then I was also vying for our allies. Back then, before the war, we'd have a war treaty meeting with the royals, and all the battles would be figured out. And there'd be a committee at a park with refreshments and lunch. And then all the battle scenarios are planned and all the war points are assigned. And I was to vie for our allies and started writing letters, like I said before the internet, handwritten letters to kings and queens and princes and princesses all around the known world. And we were able to gain quite a few swords cast into our cause against the evil Aitenfeld army. We used to hate each other. They'd camp on one side of the field and we'd camp on the other, and we really didn't. Now we're friends, and it ruined everything.
Oh Oh,
It was very extremely competitive then, our armies. And before, like I said, I was in the right, I won the crown tournament at the right time when the army was gelling. But before that, I remember showing up at Estrella, no practices, being told 5 different things. I was a knight in charge of a dozen shock troops, being told 5 different things 20 minutes before the battle, waiting between battles. It was just not a good experience. And then when the lay on is called, here comes Aiden 10 shock troops around our right flank. They're handled. The next 10 are handled. Then the next 10 are around behind us. And I'm going, somebody do something please here. And nothing happened. And we were just cut to pieces. And that would happen. That was a going technique with Aiden that worked every time. And so then we allowed for that in our strategies, and we're able to capitulate. Doesn't that mean stop?
No, that means give up.
We were able to end that Aiden dominance on the battlefield. They were good, and they practiced together, and we began practicing also, and it really showed there at Estrella. It was a wonderful time.
so Duke Johann says something about like getting the flag of Atenville. Was that something that you guys did that war?
Yeah, it was captured, the Grand Banner of Atenville, and it was captured and presented to the Queen. I should have sent you that photo, but Darla in her CAID blue and white was on top of a stack of hay bales with the banner in the wind, and her ladies around her, and somebody took a great photo of it. And I sent it to an Atenville Facebook page, and everybody's saying, which Queen of Atenville is that? It was Darla, and it was just a glorious time. And we returned the banner also.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
I wanted to keep it for the castle.
Well, yeah, if they could live in your castle, that would be cool.
Yeah, tell them come and get it.
Yeah.
We're all friends. We had a great respect for each other back then in our martial prowess, and now we're all brothers in arms. And it is better this way. I've met Atenvelders that are, I don't want to say better friends than my CAID friends, but there's just so many great personalities in the SCA you get to meet, and people from all walks of life and careers. We had a nuclear physicist giving us a layman's speech in layman terms, a speech on super colliders. For my 3 sons and I, at a fireside, in medieval garb, and he'd stop and take the tug at Captain Morgan. It was just a very surreal setting. And my sons are asking him questions about super colliders, and where else would you find this? And that's the thing. All these different careers we have, all walks of life, and we all come together at events and have fun.
And treat each other with respect, at least for the most part.
Yes, I've learned that. I've learned that.
Do you prefer war fighting or tournament fighting?
Well, now I'm not getting out on the battlefield and get trucked by 620-something crazies. So I'll take them on, but I've seen that. There's Guy, let's get him. And I don't have the wheels I used to have, the strength of my legs or the speed. Actually, about 10 years ago, Marshall said, I'm not letting you out on the field with a limp like that. And I said, hey, I've been limping like this the last 5 years. So I'm good. So yeah, well, my legs are weaker now, but I still have a lot of fun. And I had a lot of glory on the battlefield in the wars. I'll still go out there and fight, and I'll get inside a castle gate, fight. And I like just being out there in the heat of battle, not even engaging, just watching it up close, watching my friends fight well. But where it's at for me today is pickup fights at the wars, and that is the King of CAID calls, that's deep water. You go out there and you've heard the reputation of fighters, never met, but heard about each other, and to meet in a situation like that, and just pulling out all the stops, and it's just very exhilarating for me still to this day. And I'd like to make a point. The last interview I heard with Duke, sir, the Red Duke from Outlands, and he said the first fight he'd seen was with myself and Tamiki at a Grand Outlandish, and he said, I want to do that. And then your comment was, yeah, that would have been something to see back in the day. Well, it still is the day.
Sorry. I have the utmost respect for both of you. Tamiki's one of my favorite people.
Oh, he really is. He's a great friend.
Yeah, CAID is very lucky to have both of you.
Oh.
Did I sufficiently backpedal?
Nice save.
Okay. So how much of a break did you have between your two reigns?
6 months.
6 months. So you did back to back?
Yeah. Oh, that second crowd tournament was in downtown Santa Barbara. That's the Shire of the Isles now. It used to be a Barony when I started. And by the end of the tournament, there was probably 6 or 8 deep of mundanes watching the tournament. People in their day pavilions couldn't see a thing. And they were cheering the fight on. And the heralds would go out and explain how that's ill-favored in our society. But they were just telling the heralds to get off the field. It was a very interesting tournament, and I don't fight with my glasses, so I really can't see anything unless it's 10 feet in front of me. And to hear a crowd noise like that, what a change! It was just like being in Rome. I'm sure it is just the crowd's cheers like that. And I did really well and won the tournament.
Very cool.
It was something I haven't seen since. Yeah. But anyway, that was in the quarterfinals of that tournament. Darla, her Grace, approached me and came right up to my grill when I was getting my feet together for the fight, next quarterfinal fight. And she looked me in the eyes and said, Guy, what are we doing? I said, well, hon, you want to go for it here? I didn't think I would advance like I was that day. And I did well. So we won the crown tournament. And when we got home, the next day, some of our local SCA friends had put a big banner up on the gate, castle gate, that said, welcome home, royal family.
Oh,
yeah, that was really nice.
that's really cool. Super cool. So I want to make sure that we talk about the castle because it is a big part of your life. But before we get to that, one of the most coveted things by some of the most top fighters are Guy helmets. Will you talk about why you make those? Are they gifts? Like, what was the origin of that?
You know, I've been immersed in the castle. Some really big things are happening this year. So I haven't built a helmet in months. I worked on one, and I really miss it. I've I've got about 7 on the docket for friends. I started building helmets when I first got in the SCA, and they were pretty simple, crude then. And then they, over the years, to see them evolve into what they are today. But they've been called, they're developed, it's a hybrid helmet, and they're developed for what we do in SCA combat. And this is a favorite of a lot of people, and a helmet my son wears. And he designed the ram horns, and he did these Celtic.
I say it looks like a lot like Los Angeles Rams helmet.
Awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, they've developed over the years, and they open up, and then the inside has the black closed cell foam. You can see the foam pads.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you close it up, it's right on your cheek, so it feels like this. No chin strap required. And then for the visibility, I like to leave this space up top here for peripheral vision, little gap here. And then the main sights are out of the eyes, and they're a little chevron, and it has good breathing. And I've built dozens over the years. My fighting brotherhood of Silver Oak, that guy helms. But then, you know, as my technique on them and skills got better, it took longer to build them. I take great pride in my drill work. There's a lot of detail filing in those. And then they become helms of respect for great fighters I've fought, and the just a joy to me to present a guy helm. Here's another one that I'm wearing now, and this one's been nickel plated.
Wow.
Has the strawberry leaves on it. But I've traded helmets for friends, 2 friends who have a great craft, like the red Duke boots with the
Yeah,
strawberry leaves.
nice.
And he made Darla a pair of medieval shoes, and I made him a guy helmet with strawberry leaves on it. It's very special for me to see my helmets on the field, my friends wearing them. And I've given helmets away to just great fighters that I really respect. And there's a long line of them.
Well, it's very obvious that the people that own them cherish them. So that does you honor.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
They're designed for FTA combat, like I said, and with the visibility, the hearing, the just to have that constricted around your face, you have less bulk, and you could be a better sword fighter. I think so.
Duke Searith says that was the best trade he ever made.
Well, I love these boots. They fit perfectly. Yeah, wonderful.
Those are the best trades when everybody's happy. It doesn't happen very often.
No.
No. So I also kind of wanted to talk to you about your hospitality, because you throw these weekend things, right, where you have a fight practice and a barbecue, and you invite all these people from all over to your castle. And so let's talk about your castle and your hospitality, which is legendary. So you've been building the castle for how long?
Oh gosh. It was the 40-year anniversary of Castle Kirk last October, middle of October. There was nothing here when we started. And we were gifted with my wife's father is a mason, and he came up for 2 weeks. We built the first phase of Castle Kirk out of concrete block, a couple of hexagon towers on the lines of a Scottish tower house. And then the bond with the Silver Oak Brotherhood started. We had some great events then. And then After our second rain, we had a work party with open invitation to CAID and all points in between. And the showing was about 40 or 50 people.
Wow.
Yeah, we mixed probably 30 bags of cement in the mortar, and then the material we're using to build the castle with is called urbanite. It's also known as torn out concrete sidewalk, and that's bottom side that was against the dirt or sand is rinsed off, and then that's laid like stone flat with mortar layers in between, and then mortar stuck in all the joints. And then another layer of mortar. It's like making a cake. Another layer of mortar, the frosting. And optimally, you want to make that mortar bed thick enough to when you set those stones down in it, the mortar squishes up between the stones. I call them stones. And then you get that bond. It's really important that you get that bond of mortar between each stone, the whole surface areas. No air gaps, space. It's also important to have that clean, here I start talking about castle building. Have a good clean surface for that cement to bond to, rinsing off the sand or dirt on it. But those events, we had several of those as grand wall raisings. And then one day, one of my Brotherhood of Silver Oak friends, Lord Matthias, said, "Hey, why don't we have a wall raising before fighter practice on Sunday morning, just the fighter group?" And we got into that with Abba Nargal here, my friend and assistant on this Zoom conference. Would mix mortar or concrete, whatever the job called for, and then I'd lay all the stones, and friends of mine would do the core. I'd do the face stones. They would do the core, and then fill in the joints. And it got to be quite a procedure to where it became second nature. Just I'm sure like stitching or anything like that. And then over the years, it's just gotten bigger and bigger, and it's almost done now.
Wow.
But those were a lot of memories. We can look at a lot of places here, and it'll take a year to do a project. Just working on the weekends, but it's slow and it's steady. And now we have new young people from the Horsemen, the Judgment Keep to the south, down in Winter Mist, about 60, 70 miles away, and they have a great interest in coming up and working on the castle. There's been many hands in working on Castle Kirk. And like I said, there's not just laying stones, there's all sorts of facets needed to have a good, successful operation. People with wheelbarrow and mortar. And that's for the big, strong guys to do that. And and then we're using the same techniques they used in the Middle Ages, building the scaffolding, and our equipment's more modern wheelbarrows and shovels, but and a mechanical mixer. But I do have a project to do with some Roman concrete stairway, and I want to have a mortar boat. Mortar boat's a big box. You mix the mortar in with a hoe,
Oh, cool.
and then transfer it in wooden boxes with handles to the site and dumped. And Roman concrete is done with a layer of mortar and then aggregate placed, and it's cast to a real dry mix. The lime and volcanic ash and sand with the mortar mix, and then it's rammed. All the stone is rammed into the mortar. Another layer of mortar on top, and that's rammed also with sticks with a 2 or 3 inch base on a stick, and
Wow.
to put it in place. But that I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a good day. I want to have everybody in medieval garb to be the day. Yeah, let me get a medieval tool I made.
Okay. And Why don't I bring up the pictures while you're doing, well, actually, if we're gonna look at what he made, then I shouldn't go to the pictures. Oops. Okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
here's a medieval level I made. So for castle building, you only have a few tools you really use: shovels, level,
Hands,
hands.
bodies.
Yeah. You see, this is a plumb bob here. It's a plumb bob, and it
Okay,
hits
yeah.
that little. It's that little increment right there. Whoa. You're becoming very sleepy.
You're hypnotizing all of us. You
There's
will.
a little increment there. And it's really accurate. I compared it to another 4-foot level. And then here's my my shovel I made out of oak. And I made this in Ontier. And the steel blade on the end is called a shoe. And it was riveted on. And it's the size of shovels really hasn't changed. This is more of a spade with this T handle on it. But the shovel really hasn't changed in thousands of years. Also, it worked as a canoe paddle.
Yes.
They work really well. We've used this on our work here. We've used the shovel and the level. And I'd like to make a medieval wheelbarrow with a wood spoke wheel. You know, the wheelbarrow was invented in China right around the 1st century, and it didn't get to Europe till about 1200.
It's crazy.
They had They had two-wheeled carts. They had two-wheeled carts, like a wheelbarrow cart, but a single wheel wheelbarrow, the wheel in the middle, much more maneuverable and easier to handle. And so that's amazed me in researching that it took 1,000 years for the wheelbarrow technology, single wheelbarrow technology to get from China to Europe. Like, that's about 70 feet a day.
I like how your brain works. Why don't I pull up some of the pictures of the castle and you can tell us what we're looking at. So let me do that. Let me see. That one. All right. Are we looking at the castle?
No.
No? Well, no, but we're looking at your pictures, right?
Yeah. That's
good.
our house. That's our house in Antier. And I just had
Oh.
to build something. I had to build something castle-ish there. So I built this gate. And
Well,
it's got
somebody did ask what your plans are for Castle North in Oregon. Is this Castle North?
Yeah, well, it's actually a house, but I just had to have a little castle feature there. But the rest of it's just going to be normal.
Well, the gate is awesome. I love the hinges.
Yeah. Okay, this is the barrel vault that we built underneath a big wing of the castle. And I built this slip form, and this structure here was laid with forms on the walls coming up. You can see the increments of the concrete coming up. And when it got up to that 5 foot high or 5.5 foot high, I built a slip form out of metal that had hinges at the top and screw jacks in the middle at the bottom, so you could relax the screw jacks and shrink it in. And then it was also built on a carriage, so I could lower it down on jacks and slide it down the hall. And I jack it up, swell the form out, and then put a bulkhead on one end. So it was like 8 different pours. And you can see on the left, there's 4 windows, and those were formed with like a pyramid-shaped arrow loop. And I've got lumber curing in it right now, Ontarian lumber, thanks. But when we first finished it, we were sword fighting in it, and it was loud, and you're real limited to what you could do. as far as swinging overhead or throwing any wraparounds. If you put your back against that wall, there was no wraparound. So what worked well was short axes and maces and maybe a 4-foot pole arm.
Stabby Roman swords.
Yeah. It was a very active, aggressive fighting in there.
Looks very cool though. Fighting.
Yeah,
Oh, there's you.
there.
Okay. There we go.
Wow.
That's a turret. On the upper right is a half round turret coming out of the wall. And you can see on the bond beam there, right below it, I cast CAID crescents into the concrete. And then the incremented discs coming out of the wall was a steel form I made with, and that's supporting a turret coming out. And then in front of you is a double rebar grid, 6-inch centers for a 9-inch thick cast concrete wall. All the lower part you see here is all old sidewalk cast. But when you get up, I got up higher, I started casting concrete bond beams and shelves, just to have that integrity and strength. And this steel work here that you see is military grade. And the concrete we're using too is military grade concrete, 7.5 sacks per yard, cubic yard. The conventional concrete is 5 sacks of cement per cubic yard.
So how thick are the walls of the castle?
Well, the wall on the right, near the bottom, you can kind of see the hint of a door. That one's about 5.5 feet thick at the base.
Wow.
The one in front of you at the base is about 3.5 feet thick. And then they taper up slightly. You can see a slight taper to it, taper from the outside.
Yeah.
And then all the upper walls are all true vertical. So the bottom walls slope up with a slight batter to it, as it's called, and then turns to vertical.
Super cool. All right.
This is an arbor we're building on the upper deck of the arena. And it's the steel hardware at the top I built, and those are going to saddle on beams, horizontal beams. And then those will support the Antarian Port Orford cedar wood trusses I'm going to build.
Wow. So you go ahead.
Anyway, that'll have a great long table down the center and a high table on the far end. There's 6 columns. Those were done with steel molds I built, and then cast concrete with rebar core. Very strong.
So the castle has an arena.
Yes.
Is the arena like fighting specific, or?
We've had some pretty good music festivals in it.
Very cool.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great fighters in that arena over the years. And our first tournament, Darla bought a bottle of champagne that we christened it with, smashed it into the wall. And gosh, I should send you a picture of that. A lot of my friends have seen it. It's 50 foot across, 52 feet across. So it's a 26-foot radius into the side of the hill with a natural rock wall, and then these urbanite wing walls coming out on each side. So you're standing about 3.5 feet higher than the arena surface when you're on top of this deck. And then this arbor will be at that level, so you can feast and watch the fighting at the same time. And then the downhill side is a square with a long wall going down it.
Very cool.
Roman returns on the corners. Yeah, it's been a long. I'm not building with any plans, so it's kind of like building a sculpture to us. This here is the privies out back. We have an acre out back, and this is where I'm having my castle building classes on Sundays once a month. And you can see the urbanite stacked in the middle is already pre-stacked. The big bin is full of rubble that'll go in the cracks. And you can see the inner course is completely finished. And then it'll get an outer course, and we're going with a real heavy rebar grid around just a containing bar all the way around. And that'll be like a number 8 rebar, or that's like 1-inch diameter rebar. I would get rebar from big jobs, big freeway jobs, bridge jobs, and I show them some photos of the castle and say, yeah, I could trade you some beers or buy your scrap from you. And they'd say, oh no, a lot of them would say, no, please take it. It's they wanted to see it being used, otherwise they just scrap it out for pennies on the dollar. So I've gotten a lot of rebar. You know, one of the superintendents had a Minnesota Vikings license plate holder. I said, so Vikings fan, huh? He said, yeah, you got a Vikings man cave? And he said, yeah. And I said, hey, would you like a big Norse axe, Danish axe for your man cave? I could trade you that for some rebar. And he said, you're on. So he was very generous for us. And then we use it up and go on, wait for the next job. But we're not collecting rebar anymore because this job's almost over. It's real close.
So you have a background in metalworking and stuff. Did you just research how to build a castle and you just sort of learned as you did it?
Yeah, I had a background as a laborer, pipe layer, and that was a good education on excavation and concrete and making things level and square. That's the thing. This is within an inch of being perfectly square. This structure you're looking at right here.
Wow.
So I take good pride in that too. My surveying. It's as long as things are square and level, then everything else will follow. And it's a lot easier to build. I've done a lot of polygons here. Really learned a lot about geometry in building the castle. But what was the premise of your question?
It's okay. I just I'm just amazed. So
Okay, my metalworking background. Oh, here, if you could show, this is my.
oh, here.
Okay, this here is the scaffolding for the keep.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to show me a book.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is a book of my father's, who is a sculptor. He passed away a couple of years ago, and he's a kinetic sculptor. So he, I think you could see a piece in the background.
Here, you want me to take the camera?
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you a piece.
Oh, you're gonna bring it here. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Wow.
This is called the Dancer, and it's a pendulum action, kinetic energy. Now, my father is a graduate from MIT, an engineering degree, and was an aerospace engineer, and then decided to become a full-time sculptor. And came home and said, I quit. I was working in the garage.
It's impressive
And then-
how graceful she is.
She's amazing.
Yeah, it's my favorite piece. That's
Wow.
kind of a 1920s Art Nouveau.
Definitely.
Wow.
Big
Oh.
stretch.
Okay. I will go back to sharing the screen so you can tell me about the picture.
Great. Are you ready?
Yes.
You are becoming very sleepy. Yeah, that is the scaffolding for the keep. And that's what we're working on tomorrow. I have a crane coming out to do some lifting. But to the left, lower left, is the archway formed up for to go into the spiral staircase, which is going to go up the side of the keep. The keep is 18 feet across inside.
Wow.
It's that diameter, and then 3-foot thick walls.
It's like your yurt, Don.
It's
It'll be,
amazing.
It'll be 25 to 30 feet high, quite sure.
Oh.
And with a parapet wall all the way around.
It's just
Yeah.
amazing. Who's your
And
friend?
that
Who's your
that
friend there?
scaffolding, so the scaffolding is representing the floors, but it's also representing the inside diameter of each of the inside of the cylinder that's going to go up.
Does the
But
keep have a name?
I'm sorry?
Does the keep have a name?
Well, my granddaughters called it the Witch Hanger Tower.
Oh,
Because off that central shaft was a 360-degree trolley crane, and they made up the story that that we would hang witches there. And my son's youngest, Lancelot's youngest daughter, she's 7 now.
I was going to ask how old she was.
She was about 9 years old, and she said, driving along with her dad, and they drove up to the castle and looked up there, and she said, how many witches have been hung off that tower, Dad? And, oh, when I was your age, I remember 3 or 4.
oh no.
It's hilarious.
So, yeah, the legend continues. But
So is this
Yeah.
one of the last structures that you're building?
yes, it's the grand structure at the end of the castle. Like I said, I didn't have any plans when I built the castle, but it's just come together like a sculpture. And I wrote a paper on building it, and I did a side-by-side comparison of how original phases of castles were built, and then how I built Castle Kirk, more modern techniques and materials. Or like to use a backhoe, hydraulics and excavation is the work of 500 laborers in a day, 1,000 laborers. And often that would have been something to run a Roman crew with 10,000 laborers working, keeping everyone busy and progress moving along.
Yeah. You think about how they built all those roads, and it's mind-boggling. It's just mind-boggling.
50,000 miles of paved road. I think enough to go around the world twice.
Yeah.
30
Crazy.
meters wide in some places.
Yeah.
I'm very admirable of the Romans, their construction, and just their designs and ideas. Very inspirational for me.
The fact that that stuff is still around and still intact is just remarkable.
Yes.
Especially when we have so many leaky condos in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's part of my job is leaky condos, and I always think about how the Romans built things to last, and we can't get things to last like 4 years up here. Anyway.
And I'm looking over at the puddle in my basement.
Well, before we started the castle, a year before, Darla and I went to Europe and did the Eurail Pass and stayed in the youth hostels, and I studied castles then. And there was some timber framed housing going in Austria, in the forest near where we were staying. And I walked up and I was looking at their buildings, and like triple pane glass sliding doors with a big 18-inch vacuum handle on it. Just everything was very heavy duty. And the contractor was there, and I told him I was interested in building my own house someday. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. And I've I've held true. And he said, oh yes, we like to build houses like you Americans to live in while we build our real house. And I said, okay, I took that to heart. So that's one of my themes here, is to build something to where it won't break for 100 years, 500 years. So all the hardware, the door hardware is all heavy. I build all my own door latches and hinge works. It's I think that's one of my favorite things in castle building, is build the doors, hardware, and and to think when one of those doors is locked, you go, well, gotta go around. I'm not Jimmy in this door open.
That's funny.
Real cool.
Funny. So I in the back of my mind, I'm like, so what's the Castle North for? Because if I spent 40 years building a castle, I don't think I would ever move.
Yeah, I've had people who are here and say to me, if I lived here, I'd never want to leave. And Darla and I wanted to get a place up in when I retired. Always wanted a home on a river, and the fates were with us, and we found a house on the river up in yes, Timberhaven, which is the shire there in Coos Bay. And we spent about a week, a month up there. Sometimes we'll stay for 10 days, but it's just a great place to get away from this heat in the valley. It's really hot here in the summertime and real dusty. It's just nice to have a place to go unwind. And the projects up there, I have a great wood shop, so I'm building built that shovel and that level. And Castle Kirk is more concrete, stone, steel, dust, welding, grinding. And up in Ontario is more woodwork, brick walks, a lot more honeydews. Yeah.
It is quite a difference from the Southern California desert to the Oregon coast.
Yeah. We're in Central California, right in the
Central. Okay.
Yeah, it's an agricultural belt here, walnuts.
Okay.
And citrus to the north. So I stopped by to visit a friend here one day, and on my way up to the Bay Area, I just fell in love with the area and rented a farmhouse from his mom and worked on that farm. So I got a taste of farm work and building things there. We built a really cool deck on the river. His house is on the river too, and I think that's what I wanted. And anyway, that was a good place to settle down and raise a family, Visalia. And now that we're older and the kids are all moved out, and we have the luxury and the good fortune to have another home in another really great kingdom, Montier. It's interesting how different kingdoms develop their own cultures, personalities, and just how enjoyable it is and different it is to be a guest in that kingdom.
Yes.
Always.
Well. So I know. Before we went on, we talked a little bit about the periods you don't have, and now that we've talked about your castle building and your armoring and stuff, I understand why people ask you that. And what for everybody that wasn't privy to our conversation, it was the whole Laurel conversation. Why aren't you a Laurel? I can imagine that that's not all that big of a deal to you, because you're you're so invested in the process of what you're doing and you love what you're doing so much. But is there any bitterness about that?
Oh, no, no,
Okay.
none at all. I've that's just over the years, people who asked me if I assume that I'm a Laurel, and I'm not. And I'm working more than I'm researching, but I have done a lot of research at castle sites from Japan to all through Europe and Greece to even some of the Mayan works. And when you're right there at that wall and you're feeling the spirits that set those stones and can examine that mortar mix that close, check its texture and such, that's the research I'm interested in. And I've got quite a library here, the Great Hall, that quite a few books on castle building and art, the arts and history, a lot of history books. And I've taught classes at Collegium, which I always enjoy. I'm really enjoying this talk with you and being able to tell my friends about the history of the castle, how things have come about. But the whole idea of being a Laurel is something I've always wanted to be a part of. And it may come someday. I've had some setbacks, but I've got great support from some CAID and Laurels and Laurels from other kingdoms too. Master Koskin from the Outlands is just a great supporter, and Mistress Tellery. And above all is Mistress Berengaria from the Outlands, Mistress of the Laurel, and she's supported me for decades. And written a lot of letters.
Yeah. I'm not a Laurel either, but
Recommending you for the order. I'm sorry?
I was saying I'm not a Laurel either, but I know that the Laurels up here have done quite a bit of work about sort of changing their perspective about whether research needs to be written or not. Like, so that's just not some people's thing, but it doesn't mean they're not. You're a better person to talk about this, Aishaxi.
Well, I was encouraged. I was encouraged to do more research. You know, and all we really have to go by are illuminations for the castle building techniques, and they're out of scale, as you know. But that's where I got my ideas for scaffolding on the castle and that sort of thing. As far as masonry techniques haven't changed in thousands of years. I've learned, you know, getting into some research and studying illuminations as I was encouraged to do, or really did increase my knowledge on castle building. And you know, I'll always love teaching and telling people about how I built the castle. And always look forward to the new projects where I can engage a group of workers as a team in getting something done. Always wanted to get 500 men on a rope.
That would be something.
Experimental archaeology.
Yes.
I love it.
On a grand scale. Grand scale. Yeah.
To speak to what you were talking about, Rifkin, we have had a lot of discussions about accessibility in our Laurels Council, and the fact that not everybody is capable of writing a research paper. Not everybody's brain works that way, and that it's our job to figure out how people can communicate their research without necessarily being a PhD level writer. Because we've had people who are severely dyslexic, who are not going to be writing a paper like that, and they need to be, we need to figure out a way that we can help them display their knowledge without that expectation. Just
Yeah, here.
You know, so that,
oh, go ahead.
well, that's just the kind of thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, people who are perhaps on the autism scale, or you know, what other kind of learning challenges they have. just making accommodations.
Right. Like I said, I didn't take my education seriously in high school. I was blue collar, into working with my hands, and I always have been. But with the encouragement of the Laurels, my friends, and I've gotten into research, and like I said, I've learned quite a bit about original castle building, and it's something I always hold dear. But I'm not scholarly. I never was scholarly, but I'm becoming one of sorts. And I have a great admiration for how dedicated the Laurels can be for their skill and their pursuit. And it's been such a joy over the last 45 years I've been in the SCA to see the skill levels and these talents just increase, and the art that we see now compared to years ago when everyone first started out in the Middle Ages. And it's a culture. Like I remember a bootmaker moved into CAID, and within a couple of years there were a dozen people making boots, leather hand-stitched boots, and it's just such a joy to see all that expansion in the arts.
Yeah. And people sharing their passion and what they love. And
yes. I've often said, and I've told people, hey, if you want to get something like this started, like a Viking lodge, arrange. There's a lot to do, purchasing land, arranging utilities, that sort of thing. But if you want to get a work party together, I'll fly cross country to help you get started, show you how to organize a work party, and get your project started. 5 years into Castle Kirk, I remember I walked out one morning and I looked around and I said, you stepped in it. Here we go. You're committed.
There's no turning back now.
It's an immense project. It's just immense, and it's really awe-inspiring that you have stuck with it for the 40 years and that you're almost there. It's very cool. There's a whole conversation though in the chat about what the full names of your sons are. Like, apparently you have named them well, and people are curious.
Oh, eldest son is Clayton Jerome Kirk. His middle name after my father, Jerome. And Clayton, because I thought it sounded really cool with Kirk, the last name, like a movie star. Then our middle son is Lancelot, and he was named by Darla, and he was born here at the castle.
Wow.
The evening after I won a Queen's Champion tournament, and we got home, and it was a tournament north of here in Nordbacka, our home barony, and some friends were here seeing the castle, and it was time to have our son, and we said, hey, we're having a baby, it's time. And they go, oh, okay, we know. And I go, not like right now. And it was like, okay, time to go. And they left, and we had some midwives come here, and I delivered our son. Still an argument on which side of midnight it was on, so he's kind of got two birthdays. But his name is Lancelot Gabriel Kirk. Gabriel being a very powerful angel, court of the Lord. And I had the great fortune of marrying my son Lancelot and his wife in front of the main castle door. Years later, I was a deputy justice of the peace with the county license, and so he was married about 30 feet from where he's born.
Wow.
And he's the one with the real roots to the castle. He's been my staunch supporter in building and military engineering. He and I have some great discussions on flanking fire coming from towers. where to build towers, and he's been a great architectural help too. And then our youngest son is Dane William, and we really like that name, Dane and William, after William the Conqueror, and he's our youngest son. And we have 5 granddaughters, and we have our youngest grandchild is a grandson named Carson Guy Kirk, and they call him Little Guy. So
That's
I
perfect.
built him his first. He's 8 months old and he's walking already, and I built him his first set of offers. So he's on his way.
Recruit him now. All right. Well, we've been going a while. Did I remind you to bring a sword so you could show us how you construct your swords?
Oh, STA sword, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 2 of them right here.
Excellent.
Okay, this one's a little sharp. No.
Oh, I'm like, oh, it was a joke, Misty.
Loosen up.
Here's a stick I'll use when I'm warming up, and it's about 36, 37 inches long. I've always loved these stainless steel basket hilt, or I'm sorry, cold rolled round bar basket hilts, and then I line it with some closed cell foam and then lanyard, just leather thong lanyard. But I warm up with this, and then this weapon here is about 5 inches shorter, and it's got a heavier edge, with a strip on the edge, and it's a lot heavier but shorter. And this is what I really like to work with, going inside. And again, the same basket hilt, and then sheepskin. And then also go to Big 5 and get some bat tape, baseball bats for the handle. And this needs to be retaped, but when it gets warm, it gets sticky.
Yeah.
And then I like the hand being inside the basket snug, just to eliminate vibration. And that's it. I don't thrust anymore. Thrusting was my bread and butter for all my fakes. All my feints had or slashes had a thrust feint before it, and then all my thrusts had like a slash fake before them. And I worked the 2 together pretty well. And then I hyperextended my elbow on Sir Yaroslav on a thrust. And it was a year. I had to fight left-handed for a year. I got him, but it was a year before it got back to normal again. And then 2 or 3 good thrusts, and my elbows jarred pretty well, so I just eliminated it. But I miss it a lot. I was at Estrella. Remember the silver dollar tournament there? Mm-hmm. Young one. Do you remember hearing of those? Sir Pancho.
I've heard the stories.
Yeah, Sir Pancho had an invitational tournament on Sunday morning where the winner got 100 silver dollars, and it was again deep water, and I was asked to fight in it, and right before they were doing the introduction and accolades, and they said, and no thrusting tips are allowed. And I went, no. And Duke Steingrim goes, oh, what are you going to do now, guy? And I got out there, and I had Duke Torkold first round and just got smoked and just froze. I had indecision in my mind, robber of speed. So I eliminated that thrusting for a year and trained up and went back the next year, was invited into the tournament again, and I won that tournament. That was just
nice.
I heard comments from fighters, yeah, you take away that thrust, the guy isn't that good. Well, I took away that thrust and I won that tournament. That was a very prestigious win. There was fighters from all over the country.
Yeah. When you take away the thrust 5 minutes before the tournament, maybe you can't adapt so well.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They did that for me.
Shaxi, do you have any other questions, or should I go to the final 10?
What's your dog's name?
Oh, his name's Jax.
He's cutie.
After,
He is very cute.
not after Duke Jax. He was a rescue dog that we, but I think my friend Duke Jax whenever I see my dog too. But he was a rescue dog, and he's been really, really good for us. Good German Shepherd, yeah.
Very cool.
He's beautiful.
He doesn't leave my side. Wherever I go, he really bonded to me.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. Somebody else said that they wondered if you had ever done sort of a, what did they say, a tour.
What?
Have you ever considered doing a documentary style video of what you have built?
Yes, I have. Actually, a videographer came out here and took a look at the castle, and we were going to have him do a video about the castle, but I want to finish this keep first. And the COVID hit, so we said, no, we're not going to be active that way. But he's done some very nice videos. I'm looking forward to working with him.
Very cool.
Yeah, but I'm going to keep building. So when do I want to do this video? Maybe do a second, amend it someday. But when we're done with the castle, we're joke around about the next project. We're going to start a pyramid out there. That'll keep me busy.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do the final 10. The first question, if you could fight anyone in the world, who would it be?
Oh, gosh. There's a Duke I haven't fought named Branos. And I've seen him on video. And I'd like to get inside on him. Fight him. He looks really good.
Yeah, that's a good answer. What event have you never gone to that you would like to go to?
Gulf Wars. Gulf Wars, I heard, is quite the sight and a great get together. But I've been to a couple Penzics. Darla and I have been to a couple Penzics. And the West Ontario War is an excellent war, isn't it? That's wonderful. But
it really is.
I'll go someday. I'll go to Gulf Wars.
What is your favorite Estrella story, or did you already tell us?
Oh gosh. Good or bad?
Whatever you want to share.
Well, I think the most glorious moment was Saturday night, Grand Court, in one of the big pavilions there, and we were having a very good showing at the war, and the Outlands arranged 12 dancers dancing and 10 drummers drumming for an entry into the court, and it was loud, and the dancers were yodeling, and that's where the Darla, for the talking to the herald for the introduction at court, coined the phrase "Revelus Maximus." So I was introduced as King Guy of CAID, Guy Rex, Revelus Maximus. And I remember looking at Duke Johann, the Black Duke, and he completely lost it.
Nice.
That was a fun moment.
Who are your favorite people to watch fight?
Oh, Tamiki. It just popped right into my head. Gosh, Casca, my former squire, Frombald, and well, I could just keep going on. The great Duke Sean, always, gosh, he's just such great control. Oh, Duke Alric, from originally from the East Kingdom. He and I met at a Great Western War, and boy, I found out later he was a professional tennis player one time. That explains it.
Yeah.
But, gosh, so many good friends I've met. Duke Morgan from Aytonville. Oh, I have to do everything I can. Duke Uther, King of the West. Hans of the King of the West. Duke Uther, I was able to fight him a few times at practice when Darla and I were up north with my father in home hospice for a few months. And Well, he's great. I got inside on him and I said, now what do I do?
Yeah. What is your favorite medieval-esque or period movie?
Oh, the Warlord, Charlton Heston, Richard Boone. Yeah, that'd have to be it.
What's your favorite event?
My favorite event? Past or present, or
Whatever.
I think my favorite event is right here at Castle Kirk when we have our invitational festivus every couple years.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's like everybody here is so hospitable. It's like walking outside of our house and being guests at an event. It is.
I love that description. That's awesome. If you had to recommend one event in your kingdom for someone out of kingdom to go to, what would it be?
Well, the Great Western War. You've been to that.
I haven't yet. No.
Oh, it's a beautiful site. It's south of the castle, a couple hours, and it's right on the lake. And, just reminds me of the old Estrellas, you know, with the no, you know, no, nothing reminds you of the old Estrellas. No, those were great sites, and when we had the broken field there. But the Great Western War is, gosh, there's compressed fighting, but just the site is just so wonderful, and grass and a lot of trees. It's a wonderful event. The early Estrellas, before we outgrew it, we had a great broken field that turned into softball fields from the money they made from us.
Right.
And but there was no wear of the edge. It was still wide open enough to where I had pretty much a great soft boundary all the way around the edge. Those were good times.
Very cool. What's your favorite in-kingdom tradition?
My favorite in-kingdom tradition? I don't know, all the nights being invited to sit on the train field final.
It's a good one.
That's always good to be amongst the brethren there.
Who is your favorite fight ever?
Oh gosh.
You can pick one, anyone.
Gotta be the duel. Gotta be the duel at Dawn and Alberon. When I was a guest at Outlandish, Duke Johann and I had that fight at crack of dawn, woke everybody up. We were both
Nice.
kings, and we were in revelry at the feast, and I don't know if he challenged me or I challenged. No, I challenged him because I didn't think he'd show. And I said, "How about a fight tomorrow morning at dawn?" And I'm putting my armor on, and I hear a rattle of armor, and I turn around, and he's there in armor before me. So I've hurried up and finished. I said, "Shall we do this?" And that was a bad hangover morning, but we got through it, and just let her rip on the fighting field and woke up the entire camp. It's great.
Fun, super fun. All right, last question. What do you think is the most important trait to become a successful
Perseverance. And I've seen total basket case. The athletes become great fighters from just working out. They're just skipping rope. What skipping rope did for a friend of mine, and he became king, and he was knighted and then won a crown tournament. And just dedicating yourself to the training, your stretching, and weightlifting helps to some degree. But training and finding somebody different to train with so you don't plateau if you have to travel for that. And then just everyday pedal practice, and then having the right mental attitude too for the win, to take the fight seriously, to feel like you're really there.
Cool. So I lied. Your friend just sent me a couple pictures. So we're just going to look at like 2 more pictures before we go, because they show I think the arena. And let's see, did that work? Are we looking at it?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's the crowd infested us, and Darla and I are in the center, and that's that rock wall. That hillside is covered with rock, and when the Silver Oaks first came out and they said, hey, what can we do to help? And I'd had the dirt work done. I cut out the arena like a little half circle into the hill. And when we hit the solid bedrock of the hill, that was our factor for the elevation. And the dirt cut was done, and I had it leveled off pretty well. And they started rolling rocks down the hill, and that fence wasn't there. And I laid the stones at a batter, which was sloping up into the dirt, and it's still there to this day. And that's the thing in this arena. There's nowhere the edge there. You get pushed against that wall, and you got to get yourself out of it.
Cool. And then I think there's one more. Let me see. There we go.
Okay, that's from the CAID. That's from the CAID scaffolding, and you're looking at the Great Hall, which is 1,000 square feet. That's the room we're in right now. To the left is the tower house, the original structure, with out of concrete blocks. It's all been plastered, and a sheet metal roofs. We really can't afford solid copper or lead. But the structure on the left, that wall, lower left, is a parapet wall supporting that slab, coming off of that slab that lumber's on. And those are some window forms there, those pyramid boxes. And then underneath that slab structure in the lower left is that barrel vault, which is 30 feet long, 33 feet long.
Wow.
And, over on the right is the Swan Tower. You can see the crenellations and Merlins on the far right. And that's the tower there too. And on the far corner of the Great Hall is another turret tower. Also, you can step out a door. I think there's 7 doors in the Great Hall. And it's
Wow.
the interior is on the lines of a 19th century Irish pub. I sing in an Irish band with some of the old sword fighter bros from Silver Oaks. So now we're getting too old to sword fight. So let's start a band. So,
Maybe that was. That's cool.
I always wanted an Irish pub, so we built one here. And this table is made with 3-inch thick by 15-inch wide ash planks.
Wow.
From Artemisia up in Montana area. A friend of mine lived up there and had a lumber mill, access to a lumber mill, and had them cut. So it's about 1,000-pound table, big heavy carriage underneath it. I had to build it at the shop, and then took it all apart and had it rebuild it up here after all the boards were finished and such.
Did you build most of your furniture there, or?
Oh, a lot of it. In the Great Hall here, though, we've got some really nice factory-made furnitures and chairs. You know, these chairs we picked up at a consignment shop. You never know what you're gonna find. You know.
That's true.
We still that'll work at the castle. But I've built some steel chairs, wood chairs over the years. Furniture.
Very cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into your life and into your castle. It's been super cool. And I am going to follow up with you when the weather gets better about maybe taking a virtual tour on a Saturday that we can share to other people, if you're up for it.
It's my self-interred labor. It's been 40 years we've been working on it, like I said, it wouldn't be this without all my friends in the SCA who come and help work on it, and the inspiration of Darla to like talking about the hospitality. Darla's just wonderful hostess and always makes a great lunch for everyone. And we're looking forward when those privies are done. We're looking forward to having some grand events here and some baronial events here again, and it'll be all finished. And,
Yay. Well, thanks again. It's been great. Thank you everyone for joining us. Wednesday, we are talking to Duchess Lau from Ontario, who is sort of an icon in Ontario and sort of was, what's an inspiration for persona development here, I guess.
Yeah, she created the Order of the Carp in Ontario, which is Ontario's persona award for persona development. Tomorrow on Grace Under Pressure, Countess Beatrice from Lockdock will be on, and Tuesday I'm interviewing Raven Caraton, who is a Laurel from Adiantum. Sorry, I just spaced. In the Summits, and she is one of my inspirations for Scythian persona, and then Lau is a big inspiration for me as well. So it's kind of a big, exciting week.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this weekend I am talking to the newest Duke of Lockdock, Theodoric, and also Duke Rorik from the Outlands. So that should be fun too. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you again, Your Grace, for letting us take up your time and sharing yourself with us. And we'll see you guys all next time.
I'd like to say thank you, ladies, for the interview and finding the time for me. And I hope everybody in the SA can build their own castle someday.
That would be awesome. I think we all dream about it. Right.
Long live the SCA! Let's go! We're gonna have a strong comeback this spring and summer.
Definitely.
Here we go.
Bye-bye.